Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions, friends, fans, and family members, and welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. No way to beat around the bush on this one, folks, and it's absolutely big news. As we all know and has been spreading rapidly ever since the news was released, the Lions have officially signed, Aiden Hutchinson to this massive brand new contract, which, as we all know, has been a deal that's been well in the making. We've been waiting on news for it for months now because we knew it was going to happen, and finally it has now arrived. Now, obviously, there's the excitement of having this deal finally be put into place. We've been waiting for this deal for a long time. We've been wanting to make sure that one of the best players in the NFL continues to stay here in Detroit. And that has now officially happened. But as with a deal like this, there are multiple different things that we have to factor in. There's a couple of things we have to take a look at when we are looking at this deal and what it truly means. First and foremost, yes, this is a massive deal. It is a 4-year, $180 million contract with $141 million of it guaranteed. That is a hell of a lot of money. But let's call it for what it is. Hutch is worth every single damn penny of that contract. This is a guy that when he is out on the field, he makes an instantaneous impact, and it is felt not only throughout the entirety of the defense, but it's also felt throughout the entirety of the opposing offense that he is playing against. This is a guy that is a true game changer, and number two, he is a total game wrecker. This guy absolutely is deserving 100% of this contract. So, the fact of the matter is, I know some people are going to be like, man, this is a hell of a lot of money. You're right, it is a hell of a lot of money, but Hutch is a hell of a lot of a player. This is a guy that you pay that money to because you know what he's worth. He knows what he's worth. But let's also understand something here. Much like most of the other contracts that Brad Holmes has handed out, this one is not resetting the market. This one is not resetting who the top paid edge rusher is in the NFL. At least not in terms of what the average per year is or in terms of what is the total value of the contract. With this new contract, Aiden Hutchinson is now the second highest overall edge rusher paid in the NFL. The number one spot still goes to Micah Parsons, which, whatever. I guess if the Packers want to have that right, they can have it. I personally think Micah Parsons is a bit of a, I wouldn't call him overrated, but I definitely think that, is he worth that much money? I don't know. I personally wouldn't have paid him that much money because I think, quite frankly, that there are times where he just does not show up versus other times where he's needed. But with Aiden Hutchinson, he shows up every game, every week. He makes an impact every single time he steps out on the field. It doesn't matter if he's getting sacks or not. The fact of the matter is he's great in run defense. He's great in pass rush. He's able to pressure the quarterback. He's able to make, how do I put this? He's able to make a difference in a multitude of ways. He stops rushers in terms of the running backs. He's able to get pressure on the quarterback, able to make them make critical errors, whether it's, having fumbles, because we've already seen Hutch get multiple strip sacks this year, or just the fact of him getting sacks. And then as we've seen earlier on in his career, we know the guy has the ability to get interceptions quite a bit as well. The guy just makes plays no matter what is necessary. He makes plays in terms of pass coverage. He makes plays in terms of pass rush. He makes plays in terms of run defense. The guy is an all-out, just great player defensively. And when you're talking about a contract like this, it reflects that. Now, obviously, when we're talking about this kind of money, everybody's natural inclination is going to be, okay, how much money is left over for this particular year? Well, let's just call it for what it is. How Brad Holmes set up this contract, once again, much like all the other contracts he has done, has been brilliant. First and foremost here, it's a 4-year contract extension. What does that mean? It means the contract does not take effect until his current contract is done. Why is that important? Well, let's remember something here. Aiden Hutchinson was drafted in the 2022 NFL Draft, right? So, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. That means Hutch is in his 4th year of his 5-year contract as a rookie because the Lions already picked up his 5th-year option as they did at the same time when they picked up J-Mo's 5th-year option. So what does that mean? That means that Hutch's brand new 4-year, $180 million contract does not take effect, not at the end of this year, but at the end of next year. That means the Lions still have him technically on his, quote-unquote rookie salary for the next year and a half because this year's already half over. So the Lions, they've already signed a guy to this massive contract, but the contract implications don't take effect until 2 years from now. That means that in 2 years from now, when the contract actually takes effect, that means you have 2 years of where the salary cap is going to jump astronomically from where it is right now. That is huge in how the Lions have been able to make signing all these guys work. Because, let's just call it for what it is, the Lions have been particularly busy with extending, different players over the course of the last couple of years. Extended, obviously just Hutch. They've extended McNeil. They've extended Branch. They've extended, J-Mo. They've extended Goff. They've extended Penei Sewell. They've extended, Taylor Decker. I mean, for crying out loud, they have extended a hell of a lot of players. They've been spending a lot of money keeping their players in town, which we already knew that's exactly what the Lions were going to do. The Lions are all about rewarding and keeping their own. They're all about developing their own talent and keeping the guys in that they believe are good fits for them, which obviously we know Hutch is definitely one of those. Went to University of Michigan, has lived in Michigan his whole life. The guy is a Michigander through and through. I mean, this is where he belongs. This is where he wanted to be. So it makes perfect sense that the Lions would want to keep him here. But what's brilliant about it is the fact that they got the contract done. They were able to get Hutch for less than the top market value out there on the actual market because they paid him less overall than Micah Parsons and less per year than Micah Parsons. But what's even better about it is that they don't have to start paying him that kind of money until 2 years from now. Whereas, oh, that's right, the Packers had to start paying Parsons that virtually almost right away. That's the difference between the Lions as an organization versus the Packers as an organization. Because think about it. The Packers traded for Micah Parsons, and they had to trade all that draft capital plus a player away to get him, and then they had to pay him. All the Lions had to do was literally select him with their first, pick in the 2022 draft and then just bide their time and then pay him to what he's owed, but he's not going to start making that money until 2 years from now. That's the brilliance of this contract. It allows the Lions to have a buffer, a gap, if you will, between right now versus when the actual contract is meant to be started to be paid out. Which, when you consider all the other guys that the Lions still have yet to pay, Laporta, Branch, Gibbs, that makes a huge difference. It makes a huge amount of sense as to why the Lions wanted to get the contract done the way they wanted to get it done. It makes sense why they signed Hutch to his 5th-year contract, extension or his 5th-year part of his rookie deal. Because now it gives them that 2-year buffer zone to say, okay, we're going to keep Hutch at his normal rookie level based upon the 5th-year option that we added to his regular 4-year contract that all rookies get. And then now, once that has completely played itself out, now we start paying Hutch that contract. That's the brilliance of this deal. It gives the Lions much needed breathing space to be able to continue to work on getting other guys paid that they want to keep around. Like I said, Gibbs, Branch, Laporta. So that's the brilliance of this deal. But to me, it's like you consider the value that Hutch brings to this club. $180 million, it sounds like a lot, but in my honest opinion, that is a bargain price. Yeah, it's a massive gargantuan deal, but that's a bargain considering what Hutch truly means to this franchise. What value he brings to this defense, to this team overall. Hutch is that kind of a player that him being on the field, it not only brings an impact to what he provides, but it impacts everybody else that's on the defense. Let me just put it out there for you. You want to tell me, or you want to think for half a second that the rest of those defensive linemen, when Hutch was out last year, didn't feel that, him not being out there made a difference? I guarantee you it did. Just think about it from this year. For the first half of the season, the Lions are a top 5 sack-producing defense with him being out there. Where were we last year? We weren't in the top 5. Not a chance in hell after he left. So yeah, it's a lot of money, but the money is well spent money. It makes a hell of a lot of sense. So for me, this is Brad Holmes doing what Brad Holmes does, knocking yet another great deal out of the park, which he has done multiple times. And think about it, this is now the third big deal that Brad Holmes has negotiated this year. Because the first one was JMO, then he got Kirby, and now he's gotten Hutch. So think about that. 2023, he signed all those contracts for, Goff, McNeil, Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell. I mean, that was a huge year in terms of spending as far as getting all those guys in. And now this year, he's done it yet again. So it's like, hey, this is what Brad Holmes does. He makes great deals and keeps players around that obviously the Lions are very much highly set upon keeping. This is a completely different kind of thought process, a completely different kind of, operation, if you will, compared to what the Lions have done in the past. Because as I've said before, in the past the Lions could never keep their homegrown talent. This time, under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, they've been able to keep virtually almost all of their homegrown talent and been keeping them for really great deals. Because not only, number one, has the Lions organization and culture changed, which wants to have people stay, but at the same time, the way the players view the team and the way that they actually interact with the team allows them to get these kinds of deals done. Where they are massive deals. They are big financial commitments. But they're smart, they're safe, and on top of that, they pose little to no risk to the team because of how the players view the team, the commitment they have to the team, and at the same time, how the finances are structured to make sure that the team is still able to function and still, bring in other players and, be successful. So the way I look at this team, the way I look at this deal, this is a brilliant deal. This is an amazing deal that Brad Holmes has been able to pull off yet again. This is Brad Holmes doing what Brad Holmes does. And again, this is why, in my honest opinion, everybody can say what they want about Howie Roseman being the best GM in the NFL. And you know what? Maybe to a certain degree, maybe there's a slight modicum of truth in that. But if you want to start talking about who is the guy right next to him or right behind him, it's Brad Holmes. It's like Howie Roseman might be 1A, but Brad Holmes is 1B. I don't think there's two better GMs in the entirety of the NFL. They both do things a little bit differently as far as what makes them great. Howie Roseman loves to trade all damn day long, but Brad Holmes, he drafts well and he retains players that he brings in, and he does it on amazing deals that work well for the team. That's exactly what this deal once again highlights in big bold letters. But anyway, folks, obviously I had to talk about this. Lions podcaster, you knew I was going to talk about this, but great deal, great job by Brad Holmes. Absolutely awesome to get back Aiden Hutchinson. Now that we've got that deal done, we can focus on the rest of the guys that need to get deals done. Gibbs, Laporta, Branch, Campbell, the rest of them, which obviously that's going to come later. And as I've said before in the past, I believe that's going to come after the Lions restructure Goff's contract to free up some much needed cap space for next year. But having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I encourage you all to watch the next episode or the episode I previously released today. Also, if you like the content, I hope to gain your subscription if I had not yet done so already. But if you subscribed in the past, forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and you not yet had a chance to do so, highly encourage y'all, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss any more content I push out. Hope y'all are doing well. I can imagine with this news you definitely are. And I hope you have something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends. And until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.